Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about a teacher that I'm very close with who almost decided to quit their job because their child needed health insurance. And so they were looking at Medicaid as a potential option, which to me sounded unbelievable, but at the same time, I kind of understand. So this is how our society works. When I tell you being on a government plan will essentially keep you poor, there are some people who would rather be poor than have to sacrifice certain things in order to have the life that they want, right? So the life that they want now becomes a life where they're reliant on the government. Again, let me go over a few of these things. So the first things first is when living in New York City, there's a lot of people who can't get a car because if you have a car, you can't qualify for certain benefits, certain programs. But without a car, you also can't travel. You can't go and look for jobs outside of your immediate area. You have to use the train, and people will go 2, 3 hours to different communities, different places in order to just have work. I remember when I graduated college and I was working at Blaze Pizza, it took me 2.5 hours just to get to work. I lived in East New York, Brooklyn, and I was going all the way to Queens. So you can imagine on top of my 10-hour shift, I'm putting in 5 hours in a commute every single day. How much time am I really spending on my own life, my own health, my own well-being? Not much. And so when I'm going home at 3 a.m. in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning, and I don't get in until 7 a.m., by the time my shift starts again, I mean, it's just a consistent roller coaster. I remember one day I was late to work at Blaze Pizza, which is a rare occurrence, and I was probably late by like 5 minutes. You understand when you have to rely on these buses and trains, things can happen. And so you're waking up a little bit earlier, you're trying to get to work even more on time. When they realized how far I lived, they were completely shocked that I was solely 5 minutes late only one time, right? But as a manager, that's not expected for you to be late, period. And so, again, certain things that I'm personally had to deal with that I'm telling you about. Imagine having a car or wanting a car, having the money for a car, but not able to buy a car because then you forego certain things. Also, I read an article once on a mother of three doing things on her own. She was scared to go and ask for a raise, scared to get a bigger or higher paying job. Why? Because the more you work, the more those benefits get cut in half. And so if your benefits are going to get cut, what is the point of asking for a higher job, asking for a higher raise? Because now as as you try to scale up, your money is staying the same, right? And so that balance structure has kept people under the middle class in the poverty line and also reliant on the government. Can you imagine if the government were to stop paying out? What would happen? To be honest, if people weren't so reliant on the government, there would be much higher wages because people would demand more work for what they do. They wouldn't be able to survive. Inflation would have tapered off at some point, and there would have been some stability in the market. But because we're so reliant on the government, there is always going to be those who are excelling and trying to be high achievers, and there's going to be those who are complacent because they are stuck essentially at a place where they get everything that they need and don't have to work as much. With that being said, this teacher told me that they didn't make a lot of money. However, because they're a teacher, they didn't qualify for Medicaid. And because of that, they didn't have the income to pay for their child's medication. Understanding this, the teacher said that they would not continue to teach because their child needs medication. Understandable. So you're going to forego your career as a teacher in order to get medication for your child. Completely makes sense. Now, you'd rather lose your job as a teacher. You'd rather forego your career and get on government assistance. Government assistance is now a job. Government assistance has now become an essential part of someone's life, a career path, an option. So this is where we're headed. We're headed down a path where budgeting, financial stability, all these things now come into play, right? You want to live in the best apartments for your child. You want to live in the best communities. Something has to be sacrificed there in order for you to get the life that you want. I was just offered a job as a teacher not too long ago, which I rejected. The reason I rejected the job was, one, I like the job that I'm currently in, and then two, they did not offer me a salary that was worth even considering. For example, I took a pay cut, an extreme pay cut for the job that I currently have, but I wanted work-life balance. I wanted more hours back in my life so that I can make YouTube videos like this. I wanted more time for family and friends. And so taking an additional pay cut, which would have been the same amount that I took a pay cut for this job, that's a significant pay cut. But understand that there are some perks of being a teacher. After 20 years, you get a pension. Your salary increases year over year by about $2,000 to $3,000. So you don't have to ask for a raise. You automatically get one. I think at the 10-year mark, I would have been making the same amount, if not more, as a teacher than I did at my apex, which, I mean, if you can do the 10 years, if you can grind it out, then hey. And then, of course, if you stay longer than the 10 years, you're going to make even more and more and more money. And so for me, I didn't see that as a viable option because in 10 years, I could be retired. I've retired myself in the past. And, you know, the teaching commitment for a 20-year time span in order to get that benefit essentially gives me a career in which I must stay in the workforce, which is completely fine and acceptable, especially as young as I am. I would have been retired at, 46 with a teacher's pension. Completely makes sense. It makes 100% sense. But it wasn't the career path that I believed was right for me. Now, I can understand a teacher who's less than 10 years in, who is struggling financially, doesn't have the investments that I have, doesn't have the set housing financial structure that I have, doesn't have all these benefits and perks that I had to work super hard in order to achieve. This can be very devastating. This can impact families. This can impact livelihoods. What I will tell you is when you sacrifice early, you gain more in the future, in the long run. For example, if I sacrifice early to now become a teacher, which I would have been starting very soon if I had accepted the job, in the long run, there's only benefit, right? I understand that there's a pay structure. I understand that there's an increase year over year over year over year. However, I decided that my value was worth more, and therefore I will look and achieve more. It's just as simple as that. If you like this video, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if you believe Medicaid and Medicare is actually a career path for people these days, and how would you address your concerns? How would you address your financial life to ensure that you don't have to be on those programs while still meeting your investment goals and gaining more in your career? Hit the like button, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.